Welcome to our Saturday night simulcast, I should say, as Boilermakers beat UConn 49-0. We have Tom Dienhart still in the press box at Rentschler Field, if I pronounced that right. Brian Neubert and Alan Karpick join you. I want to thank our sponsor, the Union Club Hotel, and they're going to have a busy time here. Obviously, with home games coming up at the end of the month. Still availability at the hotel. We want to thank them for also hosting our Thursday night live last week, and we'll be planning one at the end of the month as well. So, Tom, I'll start with you. 49-0, first shutout of a FBS team since 1981 on the road, I should say, and that's a long time ago. Yes, UConn's about as challenged as it could get, but I thought outside of the Horvath injury, things went about as well as possibly could have today in East Hartford.
Yeah, they didn't start off real good, did they, guys? That first drive was 3 and out, lost 1 yard. I think afterwards, guys, 359 yards the rest of that half. And, after that 3 and out, 7 possessions in a row, they scored a touchdown. So they were really rolling there for a while after that really early hiccup. And Alan, you talked about the one negative, and that is the sole, I think, negative you take out of this game. Unfortunately, guys, it may be a real big negative. We don't know the extent, obviously, of Xander Horvath's injury. Jeff said something to the effect, I've got it in my story, it's probably going to be a little while.
Yeah.
And he showed up on the sideline after he emerged from the locker room with a boot on his lower left leg. So probably not looking real good, unfortunately. But, yeah, Alan, other than that, they checked every box, didn't they? There was a lot of pressure, I think, not just to win this game, but to win it convincingly. And I think Purdue certainly won this game convincingly and got to play a lot of players. I thought at one point maybe me and Mike Carmen were going to get in the game. But we never – oh.
You could have run through some of those holes the offensive line was creating in the second half.
Yeah. I
think for the first time in the history of hot takes, I got one because I said Yanni Karlaftis would have 2 tackles, and I think he had at least one. He may have only had one. I don't know.
Wow.
But, yeah, truly was one of those types of days. And, Brian, we were talking before Xander Horvath, and we're not going to focus on the negative, but it is something Purdue will likely have to deal with without him for a period of time, it appears. He's a guy that, has gotten value on this team in a lot of different ways. Purdue did run the football efficiently again today. That was good. And again, after the offensive line, kind of like against Oregon State, different situation, I suppose, but the line started slow a little bit too, and then it got going. But put the Horvath injury into context, but also, Brian, your thoughts just watching the game today and what, if anything, you really take from this one?
Yeah, I'll start with the Horvath injury. He is a better and more important player than I think a lot of people give him credit for. I think he's just an essential component to Purdue's offense. I think he's their first down guy. He's their third down guy. He's their third and short guy. He's their goal line guy. He's their red zone guy. He's their best receiver. He's their best guy in pass protection in the backfield. He's your most experienced running back. He's your most physical player on your offense, and I think he's really good and really important, and they're going to miss him. The fact that you presumably lose a player for a period of time at a position, too, where you're pretty thin, only amplifies all of the lost value you will be without Xander Horvath. So it's a big deal. It's a bigger deal than I think a lot of people realize. I don't know why people don't seem to give him the credit that I think he's earned here the past 2 seasons for as productive and as important as he is. You could make a case. I don't want to say he's offense's most irreplaceable player, but he's certainly up there with anybody because of the depth at that position, his versatility, the multiple areas where he provides you value. So they're going to miss him. As far as what you take away from this game, I think Purdue played damn near a perfect game. And obviously UConn is bad, overwhelmed in every sense of the term. But I don't think that disqualifies the way Purdue played. I think they were sharp. I think they were outside of that first offensive possession. When you just go down the list, the quarterbacks completed 83% of their passes. I don't think Purdue dropped a pass today. I don't know how many tackles Purdue missed. Purdue on defense hit hard. They didn't really have a lot of breakdowns that I could tell anyway. I'm sure they probably did, but there weren't really any big plays that they gave up, anything like that. The kickers were good. The defense was good. The offense was damn near perfect after that first series. They got pressure on the passer. The cornerbacks played great again. I mean, I don't know what more Purdue possibly could have done here. It was as close to a perfect game, I think, as you're going to get. Now, you always couch that in the level of competition you played against, but I mean, for Purdue to be that sharp against anyone, I think says something. There's something different about this team, I think. I don't know if I can quite put my finger on it yet. I don't want to speak too soon, but I just think there's something a little bit different in them, something better in them. And I think they really showed a lot of potential today.
Yeah, you think about this, Tom, 3 quarterbacks combined. Now, Lamo did not throw a pass, right? So officially, but 3 quarterbacks combined 30 for 36, ties the Purdue record for touchdowns in a game, right? Six passing touchdowns. That may not be right, though, because I think Breeze had one of 6 touchdowns. Well, Breeze did 6
against Minnesota that one year. I think he had 6.
And then somebody else had and maybe Edgerton or somebody had a touchdown. We'll look that up. But you got to go back to the 1980s, the last time they had 3 quarterbacks complete a pass in a game. But David Bell also, Brian, I take what you say, and I understand the context of what you're saying about Xander Horvath. David Bell is extraordinary. Also, he just, really did.
The point of my comment there was at wide receiver, Purdue's got a lot of good players. They have one exceptional elite player, but they also have a bunch of other really good players.
Understood.
Too.
Yeah. No, understood. And I think
I am not saying by any means Xander Horvath is more irreplaceable than David Bell. I'm saying you could make a case that when you look at the context around the position and the various number of ways that Xander Horvath contributes, he's as irreplaceable as anyone.
Yeah, and I think that's true. But David Bell was just very unique, and you get he lulls you to sleep by just he just makes plays. But I thought that the 59-yard touchdown run was extraordinary, and he just 6 catches, another kind of quiet game in some ways. I guess not when you catch 3 touchdown passes, but he just continues to be good, and he is the kind of guy that you can ride. In my opinion, if you're going to beat Notre Dame on the road, I'm not saying Purdue will not be a favorite this week. We know that. But if you're going to do that, a guy like David Bell can do that, help you do that. You need that type of player to get that done up there.
Oh, without a doubt, he was the best player on the field today. He typically is a lot of Saturdays, the true difference maker. I mean, kind of guy your mom can pick out. He's so obvious. Special talent. He's the guy that broke this game open for Purdue. Scored 3 of the first 5 touchdowns. And I thought that one touchdown, he almost came down in double coverage in the corner of the end zone. Second half. I thought he had it at first. I mean, we've seen that guy make so many incredible plays. It's my jaw still drops. You think he'd be used to it by now. But I was sitting by a bunch of NFL scouts today, and a lot of them left. They were all gone by halftime. I think they had seen enough at halftime. They took their notebooks and the binoculars and went home. So
you didn't have that option, though, unfortunately for you. You had to stay.
Okay. I had good company and good coffee.
Yeah.
And, again, it was kind of fun to see so many young guys play, too. I think every freshman who traveled, I think everybody played, guys. Brian and I were texting during the game a little bit, and true freshman offensive linemen were in the game, 2 of them. Jaquez Cross got a carry. Deion Burks was out there. On and on it went. So it's kind of fun to get a glimpse of the future. And Jeff talked about being able to play a lot of guys today. That was another added bonus that they did get to achieve. And again, looking at the final numbers, guys, 562 yards of offense for Purdue, 223 for Connecticut. And, I think Brian summed it up well. I think they checked every box you could imagine coming into this game. They did it. And it's going to be a happy flight home. I'm sure they're halfway there. And now the heavy lifting starts, right? They go to South Bend. I mean, who knows what's going to happen up there? No, looks like Toledo gave them a good game today.
They did.
And then you got Illinois got hammered at Virginia today, and Wisconsin struggled with Miami. I mean, Minnesota struggled with Miami of Ohio. I always like to get ahead of myself, right?
Yeah, it's dangerous.
I don't want to look around one corner. I want to look around three corners. And again, my point is this sets up for a nice start for Purdue. I asked Jeff Brom and a couple of the players if this 2-0 feels any different than last year's 2-0, and they didn't think so. But I still think the circumstances are different. I think Brian pointed out in something he wrote at halftime of that Illinois game, things started sort of to go south for Purdue, and they never really recovered. They had the game at Wisconsin called off, and they lose 4 games in a row, and on it goes, and they go 2-4. Just has a different feel, even though maybe they didn't beat as good teams this year. And Brian said seems to be something about this team. And I know, again, we don't want to give too much credence or hype at this point, but I think I'm in concurrence with him. It was impressive to see them answer the bell today and do what they were expected to do, because that doesn't always happen in life in a lot of circumstances. So this is something I think you certainly can build off of.
I thought Jeff Brom, it was kind of interesting. We have not seen many games that I've watched over the years that have been blowouts, maybe because I stopped watching them, but that you actually put your second string quarterback in the first possession of the second half, Brian. That was interesting. Aiden O'Connell and Austin Burton, I think, only missed on one pass in the second half, 12 of 13 or whatever it was. But it was interesting that he got Aiden O'Connell. And do you think, and you always, I guess we do these kind of shows because we evaluate things that probably we may or may not. You take anything from that, just in terms of is that a sign of respect? Obviously, the game was in hand at that point, and Brom had figured that nothing was going to change. But I just thought it was interesting that you brought him in, and he performed well as well.
Well, had Xander Horvath not gotten hurt in the first half, I wonder if Jack Plummer would have started the third quarter. That had to, you're up. What were they up? 35-0 at half.
Yeah.
Yes, 35.
You have to start thinking of things like, we can't get anybody hurt here.
Yeah.
So I sort of wonder if the Horvath thing didn't have something to do with him making the change at quarterback so quickly. David Bell obviously didn't play in the second half either. I don't think Karlaftis did either, but I'm watching on TV here trying to post on the message board, tweet and all that nonsense at the same time. So I probably missed some stuff, but
yeah, I don't know.
I just thought it was in the second half, all essential personnel get the hell out of the game. And I suspect that, I'm only speculating here that the Horvath situation probably
scared him.
If Brom wasn't going to do that anyway, that's a perfectly good thing that could have spooked a coach into doing that sort of thing. So that's kind of my guess. But the way the offense functioned in the second half, that's not the quarterback alone. That's all these young receivers who've never played before, running good routes, catching the ball, doing positive things. The backup offensive linemen, playing really well, or at least dominating their matchups. I mean, they clicked on all cylinders, to use a bad cliche, the whole game. And it was everyone. It was first team, second team, third team. That play Mershawn Rice made, that catch on the sideline, that was an awesome play. And these are guys who've never played before. And just everything was working for Purdue today, no matter who they put in the game. And I think that probably says something, that all of these guys who don't get to play very much or get to play at all were out there, playing hard and playing focused and sharp. I mean, sharp is the best word I can use to describe this whole performance by Purdue. That speaks to something going on, behind the scenes too, something cultural, something about this team in general, that from 1 through 85 or however many guys Purdue played today, I think they played about 185.
Seemed like it.
But everybody was on top of their game.
Yeah, I think go ahead, Tom.
They had 3 different guys punt today.
Yeah, never see that either.
And how many times did they punt? They punted like
4 times.
4 times, yeah.
Ansel twice, Cropsey once, and Zach Collins once. They even had guys like Alex Maxwell catch a pass, Andrew Sowinski walk-ons. So, on and on. And when the guy you felt most sorry for, kickoff man Chris Van Eken. 8 kickoffs. His right leg has to be sore. He's got to ice it.
I didn't like the kickoff return team today. I thought they didn't really impact the game very well. They got to pick it up there.
13 different receivers wasn't
Yeah,
it?
13,
And
right,
which is,
13
which is
receivers,
about as many as I can remember as well. It's going to send us to the record books a little bit more than we'd like. And then the other guy too, that again, I'm looking ahead to Notre Dame, but again, guys that help you beat Notre Dame. Anthony Spencer did in 2004 in the first half by superior performance, and others did obviously in that game. The last time Purdue won, George Karlaftis was just all over the place. I mean, he just seemed like he was in every play, and when he was going, and again, we all understand the level of competition maybe, but he just seems again also extremely focused. And this may be what Brian's speaking to too. That I'm not sure I would have guessed this of George 2 years ago, but maybe I just George just seems to have that ability to lead things, or at least lead by example, and his work ethic is just I hate to we all compare him to Ryan Kerrigan. They're different players, but some of that similar motor though is there, and he's just I thought he was terrific today and fun to watch, and he's really fun to watch because he does everything. He comes in and makes plays. But Tom, anybody else on the defensive end outside of George that really stood out to you in a game where you pitched a shutout?
I thought Marvin Grant.
Yeah,
he plays pretty well on the back end. DeMarcus Mitchell actually led him in tackling with 5 stops. Jalen Alexander had a big game, and just I don't think there was anybody aside from probably Karlaftis who really stood out. I mean, again, his effort, like you talked about, Alan, it's easy to pick out. And one time he hog-tied one poor running back, and flipped him over like he was
flipped him over.
And then
he put him back on his feet too, and then tackled him again.
It's like it was a 2x tackle. I mean, I've not seen that also. Just brute strength. Anyway, go ahead.
He plowed through, and the other time hit the quarterback as he was throwing it, caused the pass to sort of flutter in the air. Yeah, I mean, he's a real joy, and he gets it. That rare talent. How many times do you hear about guys who are talented but don't work, guys who are work but aren't talented, and you get that nexus with a guy like Karlaftis, who combines that work ethic with talent, and now you got a first round draft choice, and it's fun to watch.
He's going to be able to buy and sell all of us before long, but and he's going to have earned it. I mean, he's a kid that I just have been impressed by watching. Guys,
Jack Plummer, 16-20, first 2 games, guys. I think we can say have been pretty good for Jack Plummer. I thought he did pretty well with his feet, buying time. Jeff talked about that in the post game. Thought maybe it gets him going a little bit when he's moving around in the pocket, and I thought, first 2 starts out of the gate, there's quite a bit there for Jack Plummer to work with.
Yeah. And again, all things looking at that schedule from this point forward, it's going to have to be in a situation where they're maximizing what they can do. And again, I just looked at this game and I thought, gosh, if you just could have a glorified scrimmage where you could literally stage it the way you wanted to, that's exactly what happened. It was just that type of game. And I don't want to look too far down UConn's road. I still shudder to think what their game on November 13th against Clemson is going to be like from that standpoint. That'll be an interesting in a different sort of way. All right, Brian.
I want to see too how Purdue continues to use these running backs in the backfield. I think we saw a little bit more of it today with guys like Sheffield and Jackson Anthrop and David Bell. Now,
Bell ran one,
and then again, Horvath's absence could increase the load to a degree as far as Purdue's use of maybe wide receivers 4 or 5 times a game here in some way, shape, or form carrying the football.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting storyline. All right,
I want to mention something about defense real quick. Those corners are playing well, I think. Yeah. Now, obviously, UConn is limited. Their quarterbacks were, about as accurate as a T-shirt gun. But I think Purdue is putting a lot more trust and a lot more onus on its corners to play man-to-man. And I think Karlaftis probably gives you that luxury a little bit more than you've had before. But those guys are holding up, and that was a huge question coming into this season. is those corners. Now, depth obviously is an issue, but I think Corey Trice and Dedrick Mackey have been pretty good. And, things are going to get harder. You're going to face better quarterbacks, better offenses, and people are going to, probably at some point be able to do a little bit more about Karlaftis. But for the time being, Corey Trice, Dedrick Mackey, those guys have been pretty good. Good for new cornerbacks coach James Adams, too. And obviously the system that these guys have been put in, under Brad Lambert. I've never in a million years would I think Purdue would be playing as much man as it seems to be. That's a credit to Karlaftis. That's a credit to the whole system, and it's a credit to those corners. I think they're playing really well. Yeah,
Brian or Tom, one guy that you pegged it early on I think is showing up, and again maybe situation was Chris Jefferson too, who's been coming in and making some plays and again in that position in the defensive backfield where Purdue needs some depth and some guys that come in and make some things happen. That's an important thing. So
good guy. They're late. Snoozy Kane was playing cornerback late too.
Yeah.
So they've got some options. Anthony Romp saw quite a few snaps today. I think Brandon Callaway was out there. So Brian talked about the skill level is going to go up with the competition here, but again, just focus on what happened today and last Saturday. And bottom line is they're all off to a pretty good start and couldn't ask for a better setup heading into South Bend.
Yeah. Going to be some intrigue next week as Purdue takes on Notre Dame, 2:30 p.m. kick in South Bend, first trip up there since 2012.
Yeah.
And that will be a challenge as well. All right, guys, we'll give it a wrap. This is you can only talk so much about a 49-0 game against. And I'm not piling on with UConn, but that might have been that's as challenged a FBS team as you'll ever see. But
they're not going to be in FBS much longer.
Yeah,
that's my personal opinion anyway.
They're not trending in the right direction.
You have no conference, you have no revenue, you have no fans.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a good. On that note, attendance on the stat sheet 14,817. It says.
How many Purdue people were there?
My view is biased because I saw there was some at the hotel today. I saw a lot of them tailgating. But I had a hard time picking them out in the stands. Maybe they were sitting underneath me. I couldn't see them, but it seemed like there was a decent little contingent of them.
That's 14,000 people for a Big Ten opponent with a national alumni base. What are you going to get next week for whoever you're playing?
Wyoming's next home game, September 25th. How about that? See what the attendance is for that.
You have to average 15,000 that's the benchmark for Division I membership.
Yeah,
15,000 per game. You have to be able to guarantee that in attendance.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be challenged to do that. And I thought because you sent Tom early on about there was plenty of tickets still available. They did do a good job of spreading out, and TV does a good job of they know how to shoot games when nobody's there to make it look better than it was, but it wasn't very good.
It's not, it's not a bad venue here.
Really?
And they got some fields to set up a tailgate near the stadium. All in all, again, it's probably perfect for a school like Connecticut.
Yeah.
And there could be a lot worse facilities and setups.
Yeah.
They can't possibly have any students there.
Oh, it's about 20 minutes from campus.
Yeah,
it's further than that, isn't it?
24 miles. I looked it up. That's why I was doing this.
I drove up to Stores yesterday.
Oh, did you?
And it was, and I drove back to the stadium here just to kind of check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 25 minutes or so. But yeah, it's just not ideal. It's hard enough getting students to games when they're on campus.
Yeah.
Real challenge when they're off campus and you're lousy.
Yeah. They had, you could see the little student section, but didn't look like there were that many there, at least the ones that were dressed in blue. So, all right, we'll plan on this next Saturday night. From probably Tom will probably be up in the press box at Notre Dame as well. We'll talk about Purdue Notre Dame. I want to thank our sponsor, the Union Club Hotel, and also remind folks if you want to subscribe to GoldandBlack.com, you can click on just about any store. We have we have free trials available there, 40-day free trials as well. We appreciate all of you that listen and watch and your business, and we'll look forward to Purdue off to a 2-0 start for the first time since 2020. So they're off to a good start, and it will be an interesting Notre Dame week. So have a great week, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week.